Thank you all so much. So before I start, it's very important. Nothing in this talk has been approved by Nintendo. All references to Pokemon are to the extremely generic cultural understanding and not to be confused with the actual trademark games in any way. Please do not sue me. Also, you're all really, really awesome, and in fact, you're so awesome and you're SREs that I'm going to assume that you are really, really good at incident command as well as other skills, plus being good looking and exactly the right amount of weird. So, how did you get good at incident commanding? A lot of this is practice, right? Being involved in incidents with more senior folks, you can observe, they can guide you, and you've probably had some kind of training. But training new incident commanders is hard. We find, and actual research has found, there's some folks downstairs who will tell you about this and they've had presentations about it, that engineers in a training and in real incidents want to focus on debugging the problem. And if you give them a fake problem, they want to focus on whether it's a realistic fake problem. They don't want to focus on incident command. Sometimes trainings just literally devolve into arguments about the accuracy of a possible scenario, deep technical dives into particular services, and while those are really valuable, it means that our trainees are learning about a specific service and not how to coordinate an incident. As SREs, incidents are part of our core job. We can devote lots of regular time as individuals and as teams to practice and training, which for me personally is how I got better at incident command. But at Datadog and many other places, we run something a little bit more DevOpsy. Most of the people who would respond to and even command our incidents are not SREs. They're software engineers whose primary job is writing product features, not operating software, including its incident response. So asking teams for something like a weekly or sometimes even a monthly practice at responding to incidents is just a non-starter. It's not their main job. They're also really often not clear on the idea that incident command and coordination is its own distinct skill. It's not just live debugging. All of the pieces of an incident that involve coordinating responders, communicating to stakeholders, making sure that decisions are getting made in a clear way, those are kind of afterthoughts at best to them. Often they've just never thought about the fact that that's a separate skill. And finally, any training that we do offer to help our developers be better incident commanders needs to scale. We have on our incident management team at Datadog right now 4 engineers, a manager, and about 20% of my time. We have 350 plus teams who all have engineers who might need to command an incident. We don't know their services. We can't know their services. We can't design a technical training that works for all of them. And practically speaking, we've got to find a way to scale our people. We want to build a training that has both theoretical and practical elements. It's really important to us that we're not just lecturing people on what they should do. We've got a training for that. It's required. Everyone takes it. It's pretty good. But this is about how we get you to be a really good incident commander, and that really requires some practice. So in the training that we've built, attendees get about 45 minutes of kind of how to incident lecture. We walk them through the basics that they've seen before. And then we spend about 45 minutes giving them a practice session. But I just mentioned we can't make that practical, right? We can't possibly talk to you about your service. We probably will get it wrong if we try to. So what if we just addressed this technical derailment and scaling challenge by building a training that's entirely non-technical? Ideally, we want it to rely on common sense knowledge that is as culturally agnostic as possible. We're an internationally distributed company. We want to be able to include and support everyone. We also want to make sure that the scenario that we're building on isn't going to hit any obvious trauma points for anyone. So no natural disasters, no fire, no human violence, nothing that's like really likely to have been a problem for people. But we also really need it to quack like an incident. It should be urgent to solve. It should have multiple reasonable solutions and actions that could be reasonable to try. The environment and situation to navigate should include some meaningful uncertainty about what's happening, be challenging and changing over time. This should sound like an incident to you. Ideally, we really want our engineers to practice the skills of coordinating between different teams as part of their incident. So, what's a good emergency that's a little more silly than scary? Well, at Datadog, we name our Kubernetes clusters after Pokemon. Turns out that's a really good inspiration. While most folks have heard of Pokemon and already know how they work, at least on a general sense, we do kick off the training with an incorrect summary of how Pokemon work. This is deliberately incorrect because that means that everybody's set at kind of the same level. So we make sure that trainees know to work from the exercise, not their real knowledge. And we tell them, Pokemon are elemental monsters that have different types. One of those types is fire. Pokemon can be captured by an experienced operator of a device called a Pokeball. And Pokemon exist in the context of the real world, and they can do physical damage to things in our world. Then we assign some responders as part of the Consolidated Pokemon Rescue and Management Center. And we take the person who's on call, and we give them an alert. The mayor of a nearby town has just called. There's a stray Pokemon in the area, and they're worried. What do you want to do? So what's actually happening on the back end? We've got a particular Pokemon called a Charizard near the town. In the context of this training, and if you've never heard of a Charizard, you don't care what it is. It's a nonsense word. It's a foo. Responders need to identify the right Pokemon, but all the information that they need here is going to be in their handouts. So while it's not immediately hostile, disturbing it could make it become destructive. That lets the team consider both user impact and mitigation options. It's not described by name. This is how we've introduced uncertainty. It's only described by appearance. It's a big red dragon. The team can catch the Charizard with a fire Pokeball, but there's not one currently in inventory, so they have to make one at some delay. This gives them some options for cross-team coordination, for ETA updates, and because they need a fire Pokeball, we can point them at a wrong solution. Midway through the scenario, the team's manager, also played by one of the people in the scenario, will join and suggest it's some different kind of Pokemon, which needs a different kind of Pokeball. And you could get derailed and solve the incident a lot slower by listening to your manager. Throughout the scenario, everyone wants specific updates, right? There are various points in time where we're going to point out that stakeholders don't know what's going on, what needs to be happening, all of that. So this quacks like an incident. It looks a lot like a real incident, what's going on behind the scenes, especially including the sort of fog of war. So I mentioned we assign people roles. Here's the set of roles. It's groups of 4 to 6 with one facilitator for each group. Every responder gets a separate handout explaining the things they know and the skills they have. So we have our person on call. We tell them that they're a newer team member. They have some general knowledge. They can be as smart as they want to be, but they're not confident in their skills at operating a Pokeball. They've never really done it live. We have a team expert. They're a person who's been on the team a long time, and they're a deep expert. They know lots of things, but they haven't done hands-on work in a while. They can probably work it out, but it's been a little bit. You probably have one of these tech leady kinds of people on some of your teams. We have a manager. They're worried about the business. They're worried that their team's going to get defunded if they have another really bad incident. They need regular communication, and they have some technical knowledge that they are very confident in, and they are wrong, but we don't tell them that they're wrong. We have a member of another team. They're going to need to be paged to provide those essential resources for resolution. And then we have some generic team members. They don't have any special knowledge, but they're comfortable performing operations. They can do any regular team task. They are great to delegate to. And the facilitator also has a handout guiding them through the exercise with the understanding that they're going to be flexible to the choices made by the training group. So facilitators also have a chance to learn and reflect on their incident response. We find that guiding other groups through the exercise really helps people reinforce their existing skills. The job of the facilitator is to let the group learn by doing. Stand back, let them run with the scenario, answer questions, role play anything that you need to, take a passive role. And then every 10 to 15 minutes, so about 3 times during our 45-minute exercise, the facilitator stops the group, asks them to pause their role playing and take a step back, and to reflect on how this response is going, drawing on some classic ways that you have probably also seen your incident responders struggle. I want to go through those prompts because I think that they're actually really helpful. So our first check-in at about 10 or 15 minutes in, we have 2 basic goals. We want to give people a chance to practice using the role assignment techniques that they've learned. We literally ask them, who's in charge? Who is the incident commander? Who has what roles? Second, we give them a gentle reminder that the goal of the incident is to triage first, figure out what is the impact, what do we need to do, what are our priorities, do we have the right people? Then mitigate, stop that customer impact, and finally to resolve. So we ask, did we triage? Many groups jump straight to mitigation or a special resolution. This gives them a chance to pause, take a moment, say, maybe we should take a step back. The facilitator is really encouraged to give feedback on these answers if the group seems misaligned. But honestly, most of the time, just getting people to stop and reflect, hey, we learned a process. Are we doing the process? lets them readjust themselves. After that first check-in, we restart the scenario. We let them adjust their response and continue. This is also the point in time where the person who's playing your manager steps in and tries to tell you that you are doing the wrong thing. You're grabbing the wrong Pokemon, you need to do something else. And if the team over-indexes on this suggestion, it will delay their response by something like 20 minutes. After another 10 or 15 minutes, we pause for another reflection. And at this point, we really want to focus on the actual quality of response. Have we remembered that there are things around containing damage, not just solving the cause of the incident? We point out that perhaps some townsfolk are in danger. Is anybody watching the Pokemon to see what it does while you're working on getting the solution that you need to go catch it? Is the incident commander successfully delegating? The first question that we ask is literally, hey, person who's currently acting as the incident commander, how are you feeling? Are you keeping track of everything going on successfully? I've never had somebody answer yes. So we talk both about how they can delegate more and how other responders are supporting that cadence and helping them get more or less overwhelmed, because this is something that you can train on as part of the incident as well. Could we delegate more? Can we help the IC some more? This is also where we're going to ask about organizational communication, especially our stakeholder management. We want the team to reflect on whether executives could understand what's happening. Have you typed in a situation update lately that some executive could wander in and figure out what's going on? Or would your executives have to interrupt the response to find out what's going on? We asked them to think about reflecting on how the manager is helping. Were they helpful? Did everybody get derailed by the fact that their manager showed up even though their manager wasn't the incident commander? And finally, we look for some general feedback, things that are going well, things that could be going better. One more time, we let them go to the end of the scenario. And at this point, the facilitator takes a little bit more of an active role. The goal is to get them to just solving the incident at about the 40-minute mark. And so if they're doing really well, we introduce some problems, like important responders who need to leave for personal reasons, or, oh, it's actually taking longer than we thought, or, oh, the Pokemon has gotten aggressive. Would you like to do something about that? And we try to ensure that the group just barely finishes. If they need extra help to make more progress, then they'll get more help at that point instead. At the end, about 40 minutes into the exercise, we pause one more time. And the goal here is really cement your learning. The main goal is to help people take away one or two major reflections to try and bring forward into future practice to share with their team all of those things. The most important skill we're aiming to emphasize with this particular training is delegation. So we specifically ask about that one. And we also just invite the group to share what's one thing you learned today? What would you like to do differently going forward? Just open-ended. And we find that that's a really helpful way for people to kind of cement that learning. So it is really, really hard to directly measure the abilities and success of an incident commander. Every incident is different. Simple metrics like incident time don't really give you a good picture of what happened in a response. Things we can say. Our trainees think that this is a valuable training. They consistently report increased confidence in their own skill. It's actually a little bit above 90% who will literally say, this made me feel like I can do this better. They also ask for additional trainings. We get requested, can I take this again? Can I take something else multiple times a quarter? We don't let them take this one again. It doesn't work as well if you already know what's going on. But we have also about 20 or 30% of the people who have gone through this training agree to act as a future facilitator. It is important enough, it is good enough, they enjoyed it enough, they took enough away from it that they would like to give us future time to do this. It is really hard and labor intensive to actually look at quality directly. But if I go look at incidents that are run by people who have taken this training and people who have not, I see more active communication and more delegation for people who have taken the training. I see more awareness of the end user. And often we see a sort of better presence, better gravitas, better ability to sort of take over the room. It's hard to separate that for people who have taken the training because they already really like incidents and they're already kind of good at them versus people who didn't take the training, just aren't as good at this. The people who have taken the training, I am more confident commanding incidents. That's not the same thing as giving you numbers. Some things we haven't solved yet. I mentioned we've only got one of these, just team hasn't had time. Team's got other priorities to build another one yet. So we can't let people take it again. We have somewhat limited uptake. This is a 90-minute training, and it is totally voluntary. There is no requirement that you take it. We've gotten around 5% of our total engineering population to take the training over the last couple of years. It's not an enormous number. It's totally sustainable for us, and it means that we've got a pretty good spread across the organization. It doesn't mean that we've got somebody on every team. It doesn't mean that we've gotten everybody to take it. Trade-offs, right? Using our graduates as facilitators absolutely helps us scale, but we do need a lot of facilitators as we kind of ramp this up a little bit more. We have seen it ramp up a little bit in recent quarters. But it is a worthwhile investment for us to have a pool of really excellent incident responders, even if it's a relatively small number, who can share that across their own teams. We also have much less time-intensive, much less hands-on training, so that everybody's got at least a baseline to work from. So, things you can take away. First of all, please take this back. I think it's fun. You can use this one. I've given you literally what we do with it. That's all the information you should need to run this training yourself. If you invent new scenarios, please tell me. Can I steal them? And for us, the two biggest things that we've learned from creating this training are that you absolutely can teach incident command and response without talking about computers at all. We've also been reminded that our colleagues are smart people who love learning. Self-reflection really does help them, and if you just give them the moment to self-reflect while they are trying to use this skill, they can see what they need to do better. They can see that they need to triage first. They can see that they need to delegate more. They can see that they need to not let their managers derail, and then they can practice those skills better next time because they remember it in the right mindset in the right moment. And now I've got time for questions.